Hello, my name is Yeji, otherwise known as ANdmadeco, here on YouTube and on Instagram. Today, I want to go over some of the things I was able to knit while I was in Korea and in Hong Kong, which wasn't a lot, as well as a few acquisitions that I have, some from when I was gone, my sisters got for me, and others from when I was in Korea. First things first, I'm not wearing anything that's hand knit. This is a machine knit Polo Ralph Lauren sweater that my mom gifted to me, but I think there is a pretty similar pattern by My Favorite Things Knitwear if you are interested in hand knitting your own cable knit sweater. If I'm sounding a little congested, I'm sorry. My family, we caught a cold just at the beginning of the trip and we're all kind of getting over it now. I think the kids are completely over it. My husband and I are still on the mend. And so hopefully by the end of this week, it'll all be gone and we'll be back to normal. Let's get started with the first finished object that I have, which I don't have here to show you, and that is the Mneme Beanie by Sari Nordland in her book Softly Timeless Knits. And I made this with Dusty Yarn Co. in the color HRH HGH off of their classic DK base. And so I'll have some pictures of me wearing the finished object. I don't have it here to show you because I left it in Korea with my mom. And when I was trying on the hat, it was still slightly damp. So I think that the shape of the hat would be a little more stiff if I was to wear it when it's fully dry. And I did triple fold the brim. This is all of the yarn that I have left. So it is more of an orangey red, but definitely a bright red. And I know that my mom liked the hat as soon as I finished it, and so I just gifted it to her before I came back. The only thing that I want to mention with this hat is that I did make a modification. So I did use a US4, a 3.5mm needle, and I did start off with 120 stitches instead of the stitch count in the book. But I didn't realize that the stitch count should actually have been divisible by 16 instead of 8. And so I would have been better off using 128 or 112 stitches. Next time I make it with a DK weight yarn, then I'll probably go down to 112 stitches because it was quite loose. The finished object, the hat, even though it fit well, it was on the looser side rather than on a more tight fitting side. And so I am excited, I guess, for this finished object. It's something that I wanted to do, and it's something that's been on my needles, as we established, since early January of this year. And I'm very excited that my parents are very knitworthy and that my mom wanted to keep the hat. And that's all I have in terms of finished object for this video. Even though it's been a couple of weeks, I wasn't able to get much knitting done. But I did make some progress on some other items that I'd like to share. And so the first is what I took on my plane rides and while I was traveling even within the country. And I was able to finish one out of the pair of socks, and this is the Tally Alley socks by Michelle Frazetta. And I was able to get this much done. So the sock is completely all color work with a really cool pattern, and it's really fun. I think there are some stitches that have gotten pulled back a little bit, and I think when I block it, it'll be fine. I really enjoy how this is working up. It is a very bright pink sock, and so it's quite deep but still bright. And I didn't have a darning needle with me, which is why everything's kind of on waste yarn waiting to be sewn up, and all the ends are still here. All the ends are still hanging out, but I do enjoy how it looks. I'm excited for the other pair, I guess, or the other sock. I just finished doing the ribbing, doing the cuff, and so now I have to do the actual colorwork portion of it, which I'm excited for because I feel like colorwork socks actually go by quite quick because you're always having fun doing the whole section, and there aren't that many repeats of the colorworks chart overall in the sock. And so I think I did 7 of these, or I did, I guess, 3.5 of a full repeat for the foot, as well as 2 for the sock, which is, I think, what's recommended in the pattern. And I'm just really happy with how this is knitting up. I do knit quite loosely for my color work, which is why I'm just using a US1, a 2.25 for the entire sock, and I am happy with how it's turning out. I tried it on and it fits, although there are some sections in these colorworks charts where you have 9 stitches of floats, and so if that is something that bothers you, then I would catch your floats, but I didn't end up catching my floats, and I think it's fine. Although I can feel some of the tightness from those sections, I think when I block it, it should be fine, and when I finish these socks, I'll definitely give you a better review on how they fit. The yarn I am using is kind of all tangled up, but it is a Knit Pick Stroll and Fingering Weight in Vibrant Violet, as well as this Madeline Tosh Twist Light. And I'm not sure of the colorway, but this was the yarn that was gifted to me from Betsy, from one of my friends from Maker's Night. And so this is the background color and this is the color work. And some of the parts are pretty low contrast, but I think it's turning up really well. For this second sock, I did debate slightly on whether to do the variegated yarn as the main color with the solid as the color work, but I ultimately decided against it because I thought that the sock would turn out too different from doing it on the main color with the solid as well as the variegated as the color work. And because I liked how it looked on the other sock, I thought that I would just keep it the same for this current sock as well. So this is a sock that I'll continue working on in the background, and you'll see when it's completed. The final work in progress and the last thing that I took to Asia to work on is my Alpine Bloom. So I was able to get started on it, and I am almost done the colorwork chart. I think I still have some of the leaves to go, but I have done the main flowers. I'm not sure if you can see very well how it looks, but it is color work, and it is a color changing yarn that I'm using. It's a spin cycle. And so you do the lace collar first, and then you do the color work, and after that you divide up for the sleeves. It's short sleeves, and then knit the body. So I'm sure that once I'm done the color work, I don't know whether to say that it'll fly by, because I feel like color work sometimes goes by quicker than just plain stockinette. But at the same time, I know that at least then it'll be mindless once I am done this section. I am liking how it's knitting up. It is looking a little wrinkled because it's been kind of stuffed in a plastic bag and into my suitcase, but the colors are truly beautiful. So the colors I'm using are, first, the base color. The main color is the Sonder Yarn Co, and this is Fleece and Flax in the color Olive You. And I got this at Flock Fiber Festival last year, as well as the spin cycle. So in the video prior, I was debating on whether to start off with this green portion and then end in the pink, or start off with the pink and end in the green. Ultimately, I decided to start off with the pink. So I finished up the soft power, the little bit that I had left from my husband's cardigan, and that's until this point in the t-shirt, which I'm not sure if you can tell the exact where it starts, the demarcation line of the two different colorways, but I think that it blends in pretty well. And then from here down, this is all Big Sky of Spin Cycle dyed in the wool yarn. So I am excited to see how it will look when it's been blocked and when the color work lays flat. Right now it's very wrinkled, very scrunched up, and so I don't think I can get the full picture of what it will look like, but I am very excited to have at least started this. So I was able to get quite a bit of work done on this, some in Korea, but in Korea I was more concerned about finishing the Mneme Beanie because I knew I wanted to have at least one finished object, and that's when I finished up the first Tally Alley sock too. And so most of the work on this was actually done, I would say, in Hong Kong. I did start it in Korea, but majority of the color work was done in Hong Kong, and I didn't expect Hong Kong to be so beautiful and luscious in terms of greenery. I thought I'd be stuck between buildings, but we were at Harris's uncle's place, and he has a beautiful view, and so I was able to enjoy that as well as knit on some of this every morning before the kids woke up. So the Alpine Bloom by Caitlin Hunter is another piece I'll continue working on, and I don't think I'll be able to finish it this month, but hopefully by April I'll be able to get it done. I am making the size 2 with US 4 3.5mm recommended needle, and so I'm very excited for that to be completed, as it is a part of my Make 9. So that's all I have to share in terms of knitting for the past 2 weeks. And it's less than I usually get done. And that's because, of course, we were traveling, our schedules were off. So I think the kids just needed me more. And so I wasn't able to take as much time to knit. Before I get into what I bought in Korea, I wanted to share a couple of things that my sisters have actually gifted to me. So my younger sister traveled to Ireland and to Scotland in this month as well, and so she got me 2 of these skeins of alpaca. It's 100% alpaca. This is the alpaca that she actually pet. I think she pet one of them and her husband pet the other or something like that. So these are the 2 alpacas that she met. And this, it just says Apollo Fawn 3-ply extra fine, and I think one of them is 80 meters. I'm not sure what the other one is. It looks more like a sport weight to me, maybe even a DK. And so I'm really excited to be able to work with this. It's very, very smooth. I think that I'll probably end up making a striped hat or something so that both of these can be in the same project. And this is all, hand plied, hand done. It's extra special because she was able to pet the alpacas, so we'll see. I think that I'll probably make a striped hat and then gift it back to her or something, but it probably won't be for a little bit. This one says Zodiac Rich Brown Fine 3-ply and is kind of cut off in terms of how much meterage one has. So I think this alpaca was named Zodiac and this alpaca was named Apollo, but that's what I'm guessing. So I have 2 sisters. My younger sister is the one that went to Scotland, and my older sister is the one that gifted me this. And this was actually supposed to be a part of my Christmas gift. And so she ordered it before Christmas, and I think it took exactly 3 months for it to get here. And she ordered from the Littlest Charm Co on Etsy and Instagram. And it came with this, and the charms all came in a box. I think she bought 4 sets of charms so she got 5 charms, but then Kelsey sent an extra charm just because I think everything was delayed so much. I know that my sister had to message Kelsey a few times to ask where the status of the charms or any updates, and I'm not sure if it kind of got lost in the cracks or if there's just a backup in orders, but it take quite a while for the charms to get here. Regardless, I'm really excited about having these charms now, and they are beautiful. They're all handmade, and so that's probably why. And I'll show you them up close, and hopefully the camera will focus. So the first one is a sunflower bear charm. And there's a strawberry macaron bear charm as well. She also got a star bunny, as well as a little Mickey and Minnie charm. And the extra charm that came with it is this bunny, this chocolate bunny charm. So it looks just like the Lindor gold foil chocolate bunny. I'm very excited about these charms. They're truly beautiful. They're very cute. I can't wait to, use them as progress creepers and such on my projects. And although there was a really big delay, I think that the charms are still very cute. And finally, we'll get into the acquisitions that I bought by myself from Korea, and it's all from one store. And the store is Banul Story, which I said I wanted to go to, and which I did. And they're in Yeonhee-dong, which is the Yeonhee neighborhood area, which is closer to where Yonsei University is. It's more I would say it's more of a hip area than, I guess, the like where Myeongdong or Gangnam, the places that you would expect tourists to go to. It's more of a younger area because that's where some of the schools are, like I said, Yonsei University or even Ewha Women's University. And so I would say it's only a 10 to 20 minute drive from where we were staying in Myeongdong. As I'm showing you what I purchased, I'll also show you pictures of the other things that were available, and then we'll talk more about the trip. So there might be a little bit of crinkling because some of these are in plastic bags that they came with, and I didn't want to take it out while I was traveling, and I'll probably keep it in the bags that it came with until I'm ready to use it. And so I'll start off with that first. But first I want to say that the exchange rate right now from USD to Korean won is very good for Americans, not as good for Koreans who want to come to the States, but it's very good. And so all of the things that I bought, I think, came out to 88,800 won, which is around $60 USD. And I want to say that in the store, there are quite a few items that have nylon in it, polyamide in it. A lot of the yarns seem to have more synthetic fiber in it, which makes sense for the climate in Korea and just for ease of use. Whereas I try to look for things that were more of 100% wool or even a little bit of cashmere in it so that I could try it out. So the first thing I got was this red yarn, and this is the cream cashmere in the color 15 Urban Red, and it comes in this thin plastic bag. It has the little sticker of panda up top, and then it has a lot of yarn on a cone. And I got 2 of these cones. They are 32,000 each. And so it was 64,000, which I think comes up to maybe less than $50 USD. And there's quite a bit of yarn in it. I'll put the exact meterage up on the screen. I can't remember. I think it's more of a sport weight yarn, and I am really looking forward to using it. It is more of a cool red. And I know that this has a tiny bit of cashmere, maybe 5%, but the rest of it is wool. And so I felt it. I felt the swatch. They had swatches everywhere. And so I'm really excited to use this. And based on the meterage, I think 2 is all I'll need to make a sweater. I also purchased this yarn, which is 8001, and this is in Slow Step, or the line of the yarn is Slow Step, and it's in the color 120 blue. And it's a darker blue, a darker cornflower blue, I'd say. And I really enjoy this color. I think that this says 50 grams plus minus 5 grams, so I'm sure I'll be able to make a pair of socks with it. And maybe I'll use it as a contrast color or use a contrast color with it. But I did want to just try out one of their sock yarns as well. I wasn't super into purchasing a lot of yarn because I think that overall the selection is better here in the States in terms of more natural fibers. It's just your regular 75-25, but I think in terms of wool yarn, I think the selection is better here in the States, and so I wasn't keen on purchasing a ton, but I still wanted to try a few of what they offered. Next, I purchased some labels, and the labels are only 1,200, which means that they're less than $1. And so now thinking back, I think I should have purchased more of these, but they come in 3 each. This one says handmade. I have one that's just with a hand. And then I have 3 of these which have little smiley faces on it, and in the back it says handmade. So I have hot pink, orange, and yellow. And I thought that those would be really great as gifts, or if I wanted to stick it on my husband's sweater so he knows the back from the front. I thought that would be great too. And I also purchased some buttons because they had quite a good selection of buttons, and it all just comes in one bag. But I did get these toggle buttons as well as these circular knit looking buttons and one Coca-Cola bottle button. The buttons were also very reasonably priced. The Coca-Cola button was only $700, which I would say is like 50 cents. And then the knit button, which is 13 millimeters in pastel blue, was $700 each as well. And then it says triangular. It looks like in Korea we call this like the tteokbokki danju, which means that tteokbokki is it's a soul food of Korea. I would say it's pretty sweet, pretty spicy. It's the rice cake, and so that's what it's called, just the toggle button. And this is in 40 millimeter dark brown, and each of these was 501, which is, I would say, like 30 to 40 cents. And I purchased 6 of them so that I could use it for a project. I'm not sure which project, but I mentioned before that I was into the toggle buttons lately, so I decided to get some of them. So all in all, I purchased 11 different items, and it says that my total was $88,800, as I mentioned, and I think it's very reasonable. So when you first go in the store, you see a huge wall of all of these cone yarns, and then as you walk through, there are other yarns that I was interested in, like the Totum Boucle, but that had quite a high percentage of nylon in it, or polyamide, I'm not sure which. And so I decided to skip the ones with synthetic fibers, as I said, but they had quite a big selection. They even had 100% cashmere yarn, which I would say is pretty comparable to the cashmere that you get here. And that was 30,000. And so that would have been a good purchase as well. But I knew that I wanted to not buy as many things in Korea this time, also because of limited suitcase space. And so I'm really happy with what I was able to purchase, and I'm excited to use it. So that's all for the knitting portion of the video. If you're only interested in the knitting or in acquisitions, thank you so much for watching. Next, I want to get into what I did when I was in Korea and in Hong Kong, just so that I have it for my memories, or if you're ever thinking of going, then these are some of the things that I would suggest doing. But I wasn't able to get up to as much as I would like to, because it's not easy traveling with 2 kids, and my children, my firstborn just turned 3 and my second is turning a year old next month. And so it's quite an exciting time, springtime for us and our family. And we are very lucky to have family in both in Korea and in Hong Kong. And so when we were in Korea, we didn't stay in Seoul for most of the time we were there. We were actually in Icheon, which is around 2.5 hours from the airport. And so it is quite far. It's around an hour and a half from Seoul. My husband and I took one night with our firstborn, and we were in Seoul at a hotel in Myeongdong, as I said. And so we had a lot of fun. We went to Gyeongbokgung, which is the palace, the main palace, and it's free. The entrance is free as long as you're wearing hanbok, and there are hanbok rental places just right next to Gyeongbokgung. And so it's really fun to be able to dress up in the traditional wardrobe. Otherwise, entry is only 3,000 won, which is less than $3 per person. And I think children are free for most things in Korea. And so it's a very minimal cost experience. But we decided to spend some money and rent the hanbok because my daughter loves putting on dresses recently, and I wanted her to have that experience. Unfortunately, this was when my daughter was feeling at her worst, and so we weren't able to spend long days out. We probably wouldn't anyway, but we were able to go to the palace and take some beautiful pictures in the hanbok. And then we went to Banul Story, and at Banul Story, there is a cafe on the top floor that is super cool. A lot of people just sit there and knit or crochet. And I think if you purchase food, one of the drinks or a cafe bakery item, then you're able to sit there for up to 2 or 3 hours. And so we were able to experience some of that. We only sat there for, I say, 15 minutes before we came out, just because I wanted to experience it. But overall, we went to Banul Story together, and then we did some shopping at Myeongdong and at the Lotte, the duty-free that's there. And so we had a really great time. I would say that that area is a must-go if you are visiting Seoul. And then there are other areas, of course, like Hongdae, Gangnam, which are also very popular that we weren't able to go to this time. And I'm excited just to show my kids more of Korea, because so I was born in Korea, grew up a little bit. I guess we moved when I was 7 to Vancouver. And then after university, I did go back to Korea to work there for a year. So I do have some memories of, what it was like to live a little bit as an adult in Korea. And it was really fun just to be able to experience that again. So other experiences are, of course, being able to see my family. And so my cousin does have his restaurant that my aunt and uncle passed on to him, or is in the process of passing on to him. So they all work there, both my aunts. And they have now franchised one store over to New York City. So if you're in New York City and you want to check out Samujong, it's pretty. I'll have all of the names up on the screen, but their bulgogi is excellent as always. And so we visited them and they are in the same city hall, Myeongdong area. And so we were able to go there and see all of my family, which was really exciting. And of course, spending time with my family, with my parents, is always a plus, even though they are coming in June. I was just so happy to be able to see them. And lastly, our trip to Hong Kong was also so fun. I didn't really know what to expect. As I said, I just expected to be stuck between buildings in concrete jungle, because I think that's kind of the vibe that I get from looking at everybody's Instagram or just by watching videos about Hong Kong. But I was just so surprised at how green it was. Disney Hong Kong also is in more of like an islandy area, and so there are so many trees around, and they don't really have Mickey Mouse. They're more into Duffy and Friends, which I think is Mickey Mouse's teddy bear. And we had a lot of fun just going into the world of Frozen and everything Disney related for my firstborn, and so we had that. And then we also spent a lot of the time doing the more touristy things like TST, as well as walking along the TST, I should say, or in that area, as well as going up to the peak, which is in, I think that's the main tourist attraction, because you get to see the whole view of Hong Kong rather than just the skyline or the harbor view. And we had so much love from all of my my husband's family, and so I'm super grateful for that experience. It was my first time going to Hong Kong, and so it was I didn't know what to expect. As I said, I think everything was kind of unexpected. And the wedding that we went to for his cousin was also beautiful. It was like a 14-hour event, but we were only there for parts of it, in the morning for the tea ceremony, and then in the evening for the walking down the aisle, reception, food, all of that. So my husband actually has 7 aunts. His mom is a part of a family with 8 sisters, and so is one of 8 sisters. And so we actually were able to meet all of the aunts as well as his cousins, and we were able to spend some time with them. They were so gracious in showing us around and being really great hosts. I think another highlight that we have is his mom set up like a wedding celebration, a belated wedding slash having kids slash everything for us. And so we also ate a banquet with them, and I was showered in gold, I think, which is also a very Cantonese tradition, something that I didn't expect, but it was very fun, it just felt very welcoming into the family, and so I'm very grateful for that as well. So after Hong Kong, we were able to fly a night back into Korea, because there is no direct flight from Hong Kong to Seattle, and we stayed near the airport, and my parents joined us, and that was really fun as well. We went to Wonder Box, which is like a tiny kids theme park, as well as just that's right by the airport, as well as just in that plaza there, I think they have a casino, an art museum, as well as a large space for kids to run around and play in. And so we were able to see my parents just for one last time before flying back out. So all in all, this trip was a 10 out of 10 experience. And in terms of travel, I would say it was a 1 out of 10 experience. My youngest, she's almost a year old, so 11, 12 months. And I think she found it quite hard, of course, to be on a plane for that long. Even going to Hong Kong, I think it was around 4 hours. And then flying from here to Korea was 11 and a half hours. Coming back was just over 9 hours. And so we all found it very hard. And I think her just not being able to sleep very well on the flight, as well as just being a little sick, made it hard for everybody. I am hoping that we will be able to get over jet lag a little bit. Everybody will recuperate pretty well in the next coming days, but it's a little too early to tell. Most likely we'll travel more domestically, or even going to Toronto or somewhere a little closer in the next couple of years. And maybe in 2 to 3 years, we can attempt to do Korea or Hong Kong again with the kids. And so I'm really happy that we were able to have this experience. And I don't really have any more to say about it. I know that I didn't do all of the touristy things in Hong Kong, nor all of the touristy things in Korea, but I wanted to share some of the experience of the things that we did get up to, as well as share some photos. And so that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry I sound congested, and hopefully next week we'll have more of a regular paced episode. So thank you again, and I'll see you next week. Bye.